Welcome to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey from vision to reality. I'm Kelly Jackson, your guide on this path of self-discovery, transformation, and intentional living. Here, we explore everything from mindset shifts and personal growth to spiritual alignment and entrepreneurship, sharing insights, stories, and actionable wisdom to help you live a life in harmony with your dreams. Every episode will dig into what it means to not only dream big, but to actually consciously create the life you envision. Let's turn your dreams into real life. Welcome to this special episode dropping on the first day of the Power of Self-Love Week. And if you don't know what that is, it started today, Monday, December 9th, and it's going all week till Friday, December 13th. It's not too late to join. We're going to talk about it later. But for now, we're going to dive into the mindset every entrepreneur and dreamer needs to succeed. The mindset that transforms rejection into redirection, self-doubt into self-belief, and setbacks into comebacks. And if you've ever felt dismissed or ignored or stuck, wondering if you're good enough, this episode is for you. Because self-love isn't just about pampering yourself. It's the foundation that allows you to face rejection, keep showing up, and ultimately win. So, let's start by talking about the reality of entrepreneurship. The unseen struggles. I was just sent a client something the other day that it was a meme, it was a reel, and it was like a scene from, I guess, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, where he's like walking and ripping off all these disguises. And he basically evolves into 6 different people between all these disguises coming off and new ones being put on in the time he's walking this short distance. And the text over this was just saying, this is an entrepreneur switching between content creator, PR, marketing, customer service, like all of the things. Because especially early in the entrepreneurial journey, this is very much what it's like, okay? And look, let's talk about the unseen struggles, okay? We do live in a highlight reel culture. You see the wins, you see the 6-figure launches, the overnight successes, but what you don't always see are the hundreds and thousands of emails ignored, the countless no's, and the years of hard work before the lucky break. And I had air quotes when I did that. So this is kind of what we're going to talk about, because I said, if you've heard an earlier episode, and I said one of the things that moved me to want to talk about entrepreneurship in this podcast is because I've been an entrepreneur since college, and this is a lifestyle. And if you're an entrepreneur, you understand what I mean. It's a lifestyle. And everyone doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. They don't. And that's okay. And there's still some good information here for you, even if you don't have a desire to be an entrepreneur. The thing is, a lot of people do. Maybe they don't know where to start, or they don't know how to start, or they don't know if they have an idea to make it into something, but there is some sort of desire there to have something. So let's get into it. But going back to what I was going to say is I am passionate about entrepreneurship and working with entrepreneurs and being an entrepreneur. And I have made so many mistakes. Like, oh, are you kidding? I mean, y'all, it's wow. I've made so many mistakes. And I've also done some really amazing things too. I've done some things right too. What we're going to talk about today, though, is just some of the unseen struggles. And look, rejection. So I mentioned here the hundreds or thousands, countless emails ignored, right? And rejection, you got to look at it as a rite of passage when you're in the world of entrepreneurship. Because rejection is part of the game. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It's a test of how much you believe in what you're doing. And sometimes rejection is redirection. Sometimes rejection is showing you signs of your alignment or misalignment, right? So it's important to learn how to discern the difference between all of these. But what you have to understand is that rejections, it's like a rite of passage. It's, as an entrepreneur, you will experience rejection. And self-love is really important in creating the foundation to be resilient so that you can keep going, right? So I'm going to tell you a little personal story of rejection. Like a time that things didn't work out, if you want to call it a no or being ignored or however you want to look at this, but something that later led to an unexpected breakthrough. Now, this is at the very beginning of my intentional journey of self. So this was, the year after the divorce. I was still a full-time professional artist at the time, and I was inspired to create, it was always part of the plan to have this stationery line, right? Like that was even before the intentional journey of self, even back when I was full-time artist and married and like that stage in my life. I was really inspired at the time by Emily McDowell, because as I've shared before, I was not healthy at that point in my life. I loved what I did, but I lacked balance. I lacked self-awareness. I lacked self-love. I lacked lots of things. And I lived, ironically, with a lack mentality. And the thing is that I was like a workaholic. And so I was consistently going without sleep. In that time, though, I'm like up all night working, and I'm like binge watching every Shark Tank episode, trying to learn, because I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Because as I've shared before, I felt like I had created a job. Like this wasn't scalable, which is why I recognized in Emily something that I was like, wait, there's something here where I'm doing the work once. And, it was just, it was an aha moment, right? So there was inspiration there. So fast forward, it's, I create some designs and I launch this crowdfunding campaign, right? And I really believed in it. And this was to, again, I had not yet started the intentional journey of self yet. I was at the very beginning of it. So these things that I had created had not been created from a place of where I was in my life at that time, or certainly not where I was headed. I wasn't aware of that at the moment, right? But it's where my current theme of consciousness is where I had created this line from. And all that to say, I did the campaign. I believed in it until the very last second. So let's say, I don't remember exactly what it was, but let's say it was a $10,000 crowdfunding campaign. I don't remember the numbers, guys, to be honest, but let's say that's what it was. I believed until the very last, down to the last 10 hours that it was possible. And I was $9,300 short. Okay, are y'all hearing me? So say it was 10,000 and I got 700 throughout the whole campaign. And then, but still, I was anything's possible. Anything could happen at any moment, right? Because it could have. And I would have known at that moment that it was meant to be, right? However, that's not how it happened. And so in hindsight, I'm able to, and at the time, how did I feel? I was I really believed in it. I really believed in it. And I also realized that, okay, well, it's not meant to be, right? It's not meant to be. If it would have been meant to be, it would have been. Well, here's the thing. Later, as I progressed on this journey and as there were some shifts happening and all of this kind of stuff in my life and my personality and my beliefs and all of the things, I understood, oh yeah, I get why that didn't happen because that wasn't aligned. I wouldn't have wanted the messages on that stationery to have been what I put out into the world. Energetically, it wasn't aligned. And now I see that, but right? And so hindsight is 20/20 vision. I say that often, and it's good to keep in mind because it helps you realize that even if you don't understand what's going on in the moment, because maybe it's not matching the vision that you had in your mind, when you can know hindsight is 20/20 vision, then you're just at peace with it because you're well, yeah, I don't get it. Maybe I thought it was going to go one way, and I understand that later it will be revealed to me why this is the way it was supposed to happen. And then I can have a little giggle. Oh yeah, I get it. Right? And so the beauty of it and what I like to do is have the little giggle now. And now that I know this is the way it is, hindsight's 20/20 vision, it'll always be revealed later of why things had to happen the way that they did. Now I can really kind of approach it with that little cosmic giggle now and realizing that I don't have to take it so personally or be upset or get angry or mad because, the rejection is redirection. And sometimes we're going to find out later why we're going to be glad it didn't happen the way that we might have thought it was going to happen. Just like with that crowdfunding campaign. Now I'm whew, that's good because that's not it's not aligned with, it's not something that I would be like promoting or anything right now, right? So that's all I'm saying. Now, let's talk about rejection as redirection and the role of self-love in reframing rejection, because self-love teaches you that rejection isn't the end. It's a redirection. Every no is clearing the way for your yes. But you won't see that if you're not anchored in your own worth. And that's really important. And it's also why validation starts with you. If you wait for someone else to validate your ideas or your vision or your worth, you may be waiting forever. Self-love means you show up for your dreams because you believe in them first. I just saw something the other day, and I'm going to share it, entrepreneurs. I want you to hear this, right? It said, first they call you cringe, then they call you crazy, then they call you lucky, and then they want to know how you did it. Right? And what I want you to hear is this. In every stage, the secret was self-love. You believed in yourself long before they did. That's the key, right? And this is what I'm saying about validating yourself, is that self-love has you showing up consistently, even if the other people are going through their cringe phase, their crazy phase, their just lucky phase, right? And so that's what I want you to hear. And let's also talk about how self-love fuels resilience and like building inner resilience. Self-love, as you know, it's not just about feeling good about yourself. It's the fuel that keeps you going when things feel impossible. It's what lets you show up after a failed launch or post another reel after one flops, right? There's something I love. I don't know if you want to call it a mantra or a saying, and I don't know where it originated from, but it says, first it was impossible, then it was possible, then it was inevitable. And I'm sure some of you entrepreneurs really feel that. You can relate to that. So I'm going to say it again, and I want you to close your eyes for a minute. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, I want you to hear this. First, it was impossible. Then it was possible. Then it was inevitable. I want you to keep going, guys. All right. I also want you to hear this. We're going to call it the cringe to credibility pipeline. You have got to be willing to be, quote, cringe before you're credible. No one starts as an expert. But if you keep showing up with love for yourself and your vision, you will break through. Okay? So you know what? This is a great place to do this. I have something. It's actually inside of Self-Love Uni. It is called Embrace the Cringe Meditation. I am going to link that for you guys in the show notes because we're talking about it. And so this can be for everyone. Embrace the Cringe Meditation. Now, let's talk about some practical tips for entrepreneurs, like some affirmations, for instance, that you could use during tough times. Like, I am worthy of success no matter what. I am building something meaningful, and every challenge is a step towards success. Setbacks are lessons in disguise, guiding me to grow and adapt. Every no brings me closer to the yes that will change my life. See how these affirmations can really, this is like working on reprogramming the subconscious mind. There's something that when I was just saying reminds me of Gary Vee, who's amazing. If you're an entrepreneur, 10 recommend giving Gary Vee a follow. And this one thing that he had posted once, it was just a picture and it had, 50 no's and then one yes. And really small at the bottom, it said that, sometimes you got to go through 100 no's to get to the one yes that changes everything. And y'all, Gary Vee, again, you can look him up. You have to understand that this is something, when I'm speaking of like the scale that this man operates on with his media company and just with all of the things that he does. It's prolific. And he says this all the time. No's are part of it, guys. No's are part of the game. And I want you to have affirmations like this. My worth is not determined by my achievements, but by who I am. And the journey is as valuable as the destination. I am learning and growing every day. I choose to believe in my vision even when others cannot yet see it. And that reminds me of something. Actually, we're going to come to that later. It's a great story, but I'm going to save that for later. But so, okay, that was just a couple. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on for entrepreneurs. However, let me throw some in there for non-entrepreneurs who, okay, here's some affirmations you may want to use during tough times to inspire resilience and self-compassion. I release what I cannot control and focus on what I can change. I trust myself to make the best decisions for my life. I am allowed to feel my emotions and still move forward with courage. That reminds me, I saw something the other day that said that bravery feels a lot like fear if you're doing it right. All right. I trust that everything is unfolding for my higher good. And y'all know one of my favorites, things are always working out for me, right? That's like a trust the process kind of affirmation. And I am not defined by my struggles. I'm defined by how I rise above them. And again, these are just some things how about this? I will, in the show notes, because I love affirmations and I really believe in them, I will leave some affirmations. I will put a bunch down there that you can use for entrepreneurs, for non-entrepreneurs, just some universal tough times affirmations. And hopefully that can help you out. You can print them out. Also, if you didn't already know this, I do have a blog for the Dreamed It Then Real Life Did, dreamedithenreallifedit.us. And you can look on the little menu there and you'll see blog and you can click on it. And each episode, it's got some show notes, it's got some information, it's got some links, things I talk about, and things like that. And so it's a great resource. You may or may not have known about it. That's why I'm mentioning it. All right. And when I say I'll put it in the show notes, if you don't know what that means that, because not everyone listens to podcasts. Some of the people I've told about this podcast journey that I'm now on, they were like, I've never listened to a podcast. Where do I do that at? Right? So when I say show notes, what that means is when you're listening to the podcast, there's an area underneath that you can scroll, and it has some information like a summary of what the episode is about. And there's also an opportunity there for you to leave a rating and leave a review. And I love when y'all do that, so please do. Let's keep going. Oh, by the way, entrepreneurs, right? Make sure, invite people, just like I'm inviting you, to leave an honest review and leave a rating. And this helps other people know what they can look forward to, right? Or be aware of, depending on, I guess, what the review is. So, going back to the affirmations, I'm going to put some in the show notes. And these affirmations, you can write them in a journal. You can speak them out loud in front of a mirror or just repeated mentally during challenging moments. And the goal, is to remind yourself of your inner strength and maintain a positive mindset. PMA, positive mental attitude. All right. Another journal prompt for rejection could be, what lesson is this no teaching me? And journal about it. And, you'll access the subconscious mind that way, and you can process some emotions and some feelings instead of keeping them inside. And then also remember the power of celebrating small wins. Honestly, there's a lot of power in celebrating the small wins. And remember, this is, if you heard the last episode last week that was all about gratitude, we really got into this about why it's important to celebrate the small wins and focus on, things like that. So let's talk about the payoff. Why self-love always wins. Because you eventually reach the tipping point. The ones who keep going, the ones who refuse to give up on themselves, are the ones who win. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And self-love is your unfair advantage because it keeps you in the game. Okay? And I'm going to give you some examples of resilience that led to success. I'm going to highlight a couple stories for you of some famous entrepreneurs or creatives who have, or who did, or that they faced countless rejections before their big breakthrough. Okay? I'm going to start with this one. So back, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, when I was full-time artist, grinding, wearing busy like a badge of honor, wasn't a healthy work dynamic. However, so I'm doing the Shark Tanks every night, and I'm learning about, all these different entrepreneurs, figuring stuff out, going, there's got to be a different way. I've got to restructure this company, right? Something's got to happen. And I remember, I don't know what I was watching, but I just remember, and this stuck with me, hearing an interview with Nick Woodman, who's the founder of GoPro. And the thing that stuck out was him saying, I was a 10-year overnight success story. And I was like, oh yeah. And I cannot tell you how many times that just one thing has replayed in my mind, right? Because it's so true. And I remember him saying, how many trade shows I went to, how many pop-up events I did, how many failed things, right? All the things. Y'all, this story, it's common amongst entrepreneurs, right? Did you know that Walt Disney was denied over 300 times for a loan to start Disneyland? And Dr. Seuss's first book was rejected 27 times before someone said yes. It was that, and to say that you saw it on Mulberry Street or something like that. That was his first book. And then the rest is history, right? And Todd Graves, so in the first guest episode with Verge Osberry, he mentioned Todd Graves, and I'm going to mention him again. I alluded to in that episode, I said, yeah, I'm familiar with his story as well. And Todd Graves, if you don't know, so he's the founder of Raising Cane's, and Todd was told no. Verge even said that he failed his exam, his presentation in college with this idea, right? Like, there were a lot of no's before. And now, as Verge mentioned, Todd Graves is the wealthiest man in the state of Louisiana. Here's the thing. So Todd got a lot of no's. He's got one thing on the menu, right? Chicken fingers. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else. And what I alluded to when Verge and I were having that conversation and saying that, yeah, his story actually touched me personally. And the way that happened was that someone who I had known in my life, more than half of my life, right? They had known him, Todd Graves, when he was still in the seeking investors and to people to believe in his idea phase of his journey. And Todd had gone to this mutual friend with his idea. And the mutual person is like, you're great. You're amazing. I just don't see this working. It's a no for me. Well, years, decades, even maybe later, me and this person would reconnect and about business. And I had this idea. And this story was shared to me for the first time by the mutual person, right? And the story, I just had a little moment because I felt like I was like in the moment again, like actually in the moment. And I want y'all to hear how powerful this is. So this same person, decades later, who told Todd Graves, young Todd Graves with the big idea, you're amazing, it's a no for me. Todd Graves went on to just do incredible things with his company. And then when me and this person would come back together and I had this idea, that person told me the story about Todd and said that I learned a really big lesson, that just because you don't see someone else's vision doesn't mean that vision will not be a success. That vision was given to them for a reason. And because of that, this person decided to invest in me, even though they were very upfront with saying, I don't necessarily understand what you're doing, right? I don't know. However, what I do know is our past working relationship. What I do know is you are a person of integrity. What I do know is your good heart and pure intentions. What I do know is your work ethic. What I do know is your passion, your creativity, your all of that, right? And so even though I don't really understand your vision, it's like not my vision, I also understand that that's why it was given to you. And so Todd Graves, it all circled back around. And I just want you to see that not everybody is going to see your vision. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you got to stop. Keep going. And I'm going to tell you one other story that I really love. And this is Jamie Kern Lima. And she, if you do not know who she is, so she was a TV anchor. And she was told, before, let me preface this by saying, remember, this is stories of people who have overcome just lots of adversity and all kinds of things. And Jamie, this is one of the most beautiful women. She is just such a bright light. And if you are not familiar with her, do yourself a solid and give her a little peek into her world. And she's such a bright light. So she was told that she would never make it on camera because of her rosacea. And she has a story. So she was on live TV. She had, makeup on her eyebrows because she's like, she went to wipe her face, ends up smearing her eyebrow makeup. It's on live TV. She can't really do anything about it. She's got such a great little story. She ends up coming afterward and being like, okay, I am going to follow my passion for beauty and I'm going to create a beauty brand that empowers women. Like, she was ready, okay? And she started It Cosmetics in her living room in 2008. And by 2010, the company was on the verge of bankruptcy. And she approached an investor, not just one, but she approached investors. And this one investor told her no. And he said, no one would buy makeup from someone that looks like her. And at that point, she said she realized that it was going to come down to her believing in herself. And she kept going. 6 years later, in 2016, Jamie became one of the first women to take a company from startup to over $1 billion sale. And not only did she sell It Cosmetics, her beauty brand, to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion, which was their largest acquisition of an American company ever. She also remained CEO and a significant shareholder, guys. And she continues to inspire people through her philanthropic efforts and her advocacy for empowerment for women and for entrepreneurship. She's truly just such a bright light. And this story is incredible, right? And I love that she also said when this sale to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion, when that happened, the gentleman who had told her no, that no one would buy makeup from someone that looked like her, did reach out to her with a really kind congratulations and let her know that it would have been the largest deal for their company as well, had they moved forward with it. And guys, I just want you to hear these stories, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, because these are people who have faced countless rejections before their breakthrough, right? And they kept going. And I'm going to mention to you how my own persistence has paid off. And look, the podcast is one example of that, at least in my humble opinion. This was something I had the idea to do in early 2020. I recorded the original episode, which you can hear here. I re-recorded it. And then the world shut down and there was so much uncertainty, and it was like, this doesn't feel like the right time to launch a manifestation podcast. Let me just hold off, right? And then the next year, it was like things were feeling good. The world's open again. Okay, let's go for it. And then it was a lot of, I've shared the story where I had just several, probably a half dozen or so, maybe 7 guests that it was like something happened with all of them. You had to laugh at that point. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. What is even no? So, and then some other things happened. And what I'm saying is, I kept it on the vision board, as you all know, every year. Even it was like 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Every year it's going on the vision board. And here we were, 11/11/2024. It happened, right? Persistence paid off. And even though it didn't happen the first couple times, I persisted, and here we are. And also, going back to what we said earlier, I validated myself. No one gave me permission to do this, guys. Again, I don't even have 100 followers on the social media, the Instagram account for this podcast. There's less than 100 followers, a community of less than 100 people. So I'm validating myself. I'm here saying, I believe I have value that I can serve for anyone who is open and receptive to it. And that's why I'm showing up. Okay? Now, I have a question. What would you attempt if you loved yourself enough to try, even if no one believed in you? And the answer to that question is where your magic begins. That's good, huh? Okay, I want you to play with that. Hop in your journal. Do that. That's a call to action for you. I want you to really answer that. What would you attempt if you loved yourself enough to try, even if no one believed in you? You got to believe in yourself. Right? So let's tie back around to the Power of Self-Love Week, because that starts today, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And it's going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, December 9th through 13th. Each day we'll be meeting at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be hopping on a live video call interactive, and we're going to be covering a different topic each day. And this is exactly what the Power of Self-Love Week is all about. Everything that we just talked about, helping you build that unshakable foundation so that you can handle whatever life throws your way. So start today, guys. Whether it's saying yes to a dream that you've been scared to chase, or just showing yourself kindness after a tough day, self-love really does change everything. And I do have a couple final words for you. Rejection is redirection. Your yes is coming. And self-love is the compass that will get you there, my friends. So if you've not already signed up for the Power of Self-Love Week, it's not too late. It's free. It's free and you can hop in anytime. And don't worry if you can't make the lives because the replays are available. Okay? And you're going to want to secure your seat. You can visit whatchawant.us, WHATCHAWANT.us /SLU, lowercase live, LIVE. I just recently learned that that particular URL I made was case sensitive. Again, there's always something to learn on the entrepreneurial journey. So I'll also link it in the show notes below. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful within you. Remember, every step you take towards your vision counts, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a second to hit that subscribe button or leave a review. That would be amazing. Or share the podcast with someone who's ready to bring their dreams into reality too. And if you're looking to dive deeper, connect with me on social media at Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, or at BE_WhatChawant. Or visit dreameditThenRealLifedIt.us for more resources on aligning your life, business, and dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep manifesting your dreams into real life. Love you, friends.